How's it going, backpackers? Dave here with Off Grid. I'm into backpacking, hiking, camping, and gear. And I just got back from Joshua Tree National Park. I did an overnighter there with a coworker and buddy, Edgar. And I'm actually filming this one after, but it's going to be dropping before. I figured I'd do a quick gear loadout for you guys. I don't want to focus on all of the different pieces of gear, make this video way too long. I really just want to rifle through everything that I took with me because there are some differences because of the trip, because it was desert style camping that I want to hone in on at the end. But let me just get through all the stuff real quick and show you what I brought on that trip and just get through it as quickly as I can. First of all, I brought the Mariposa 60 liter by Gossamer Gear. For this trip, I really want to get my Zpacks Nero out in the field, but this trip called for definitely a heavier pack, so I ended up throwing the frame back in this as well. A little bit more rigid, but it didn't work out that well. Anyway, I'll get into that in the future, but brought this as my pack. Let's just get on down the list for some other stuff. Let's get into clothes real quick because I'm wearing one of them right now. This is the Altitude hoodie, Sun Hoodie by Outdoor Vitals. I was also testing out the Zpacks wind shirt here just to see how it would do for different insulation factors in the field. I ended up bringing the stuff that I don't have with me. The first of which is my Mountain Hardwear Ghost Whisperer, my puffy. That worked really well. And then also my Mountain Hardwear Basin Trek pants I wore when I was out there that I don't have to show you right here on camera. What I do have to show you, if I can figure out how to unfurl socks, is my Injinji toe socks. I'm kind of on the fence about this one as well, but I'll get into that in the future. But I wore those, brought I think just like one extra set of those and one extra set of these. These are the ExOfficio Undies, synthetic undies. Quick tip on that, get the longer boxer briefs instead of the 6-inch. You won't have that ride up problem. And then I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I brought a hat. Trying to think of the other clothes. I had my Altra Timp 3s for my trail runner of choice. And I also had my Senchi Wren for my mid layer, which I also don't have with me today. I have an example, but I just didn't grab it. And I think that was pretty much it for the clothing items. Let's just continue to grab stuff real quick. This is my Thermarest pillow for my sleep system, small compressible pillow. Love that thing. It comes with me on every single trip. And let's just start digging into the pack here. Brought my REI Flexlite Air Chair because we had a little bit of time at camp, even though it was really just an overnighter. And the ground was really soft. That was an issue as well, but you know, always love bringing a chair. Also had and I packed this back the wrong way here. Didn't pack it super tight. Nemo Tensor insulated. This is the older version, the 3.5 R value version, but still worked out for the most part okay. I think I had a little bit of an issue with my sleep system in general, but I'll talk about that potentially in the future as well. Gossamer Gear The One tent worked out perfect. We didn't really have that much wind, and then we had like little to 0% as far as humidity goes out there, so this was no problem whatsoever. A little Nylofume pack liner that I used to keep everything dry, even though we didn't really have any rain. We had a little bit of drizzle on one day, but it wasn't really an issue. The other things that I don't have here with me to round out my sleep system would be my quilt. I have the UGQ 20-degree Bandit quilt, which was, again, trying to get that dialed in for the temps that we had was a little bit of an issue, but was temperature rated just fine. Okay, I'm gonna have to go through maybe in the future my toiletry electronic kit and med kit. I just have my toiletry kit here, microfiber towels, some backup contacts, a couple of flossers, Q-tips, some eye drops, comb and mirror, some deodorant wipes, things like that. And here's my electronics kit. We've got the Gigapump pump and lantern combo. I had a 10,000 milliamp battery bank, which was a little overkill, but again, we ended up stretching. We made it an overnight. I was planning 3 days. Some extra cordage just in case, some cables for charging, and a couple of different pump attachments because, again, I was going out with my coworker. It was his first time backpacking, so I had to bring a couple of extra things for him. So That's the electronics kit. Pull out stuff from the front pocket here. Some spray sunscreen. I'm not a big fan of the lotions, so the spray kind of works out a little bit better for me. It's a Hilltop Packs dual pocket battery bag for like my GoPro batteries. Worked really well. I keep my Workman style gloves to keep my hands a little bit cleaner and for a little bit of warmth just in here. And then also, not to show you, I kind of want to keep it off to the side here, but I haven't thrown it out yet. It's kind of gross. It was my pee bag so that I could pee in my tent at night. So I rocked that, and that worked out really well. Also, a few other things on the bottom here. Again, I'm gonna have to go through my med kit. This is just a slightly altered Adventure Medical Kit 0.5. I took a lot out of here and kind of added a couple of things back. But I'll show you that in the future. I have a chamois just in case I wanted to wipe down the condensation, but we didn't have any, so that wasn't really an issue. Here's my poop kit, which I also didn't have to use, really. I used a couple of the wipes in here, but I got some dehydrated wipes and the Vargo Dig knockoff AliExpress version. Actually, that was really good. I can kind of slide this one out here for you guys. That was really good because we had really soft ground, like I had mentioned, so we just kind of had to like dig out the ground a little bit. Didn't really use it for a cat hole, but used it to aid us in, you know, getting the ground out so that we can get our stakes into the ground a little bit more easily for the tents, because that was a challenge. What else we got here? We've got I guess kind of we can move into the food now. This is a Elixida hydration straw converter tube. I just tried to use this in my bottle. Had a little bit of an issue with that. I can tell you guys about that in the future. Also, let's get into the rest of the food. Let me go grab it because it's off screen. All right, we brought the bear can here, and let's see if I can wrangle this guy open. Okay, finally got it here. Not easy to do, especially on cue and on camera. So here's the first thing that I brought, which is a bear can. Wish I had an Ursack, but there's definitely no spots to hang up your bear bag in Joshua Tree. And they don't provide any lockers for you either. So in order to keep the critters out, it's like the only thing that I really had. And I got some examples of what I brought. Obviously, I consumed a lot already, but I brought the Next Mile meals. I had the deli roast beef when I was out there. This is just an example of one that I didn't eat. This is the steak omelet. So for basically breakfast and dinners, that's what I had for that. I'll show you that in a second. We've got just my condiment bag. I've got different like sugar replacements, tea bags, creamers. Actually, my drink game was on point. You can see the video for that. I have an example of one thing that went really well for that. Just threw my Toaks Titanium long-handled spoon with a polished bowl in there. Some other drink options, and then everything that smells too. I got some other condiments like Tabasco and salt and pepper. Anything else that smells I also keep in here. So I've got my toothbrush, my toothpaste, and a small thing of lotion in here because my hands crack like crazy. And then one other thing, just in case the bear can kind of got like kicked to the side or we lost it somehow, I threw a little tile in there. So that's just a little pro tip. The tile or an Apple AirTag would work really well for this. Just because you can use your Bluetooth on your phone to track this thing down if you did have bears and they were kind of like swatting it all over the place. Then the other thing that I was testing out, and this was, I kept it in here, but I ended up keeping it in my tent that night. This is an insulated bag by Big Sky. So not only for keeping my rehydrated meals warm throughout the night, but also I was testing out like keeping my electronics and my gas can a little bit warmer with this. But I'll get into that more in the future as well. Okay, kind of working towards the back side or around the pack now. A couple of the things that I had the Zpacks and Minimalist carbon fiber trekking poles that I was using. I used it for one of the days on trail. Didn't really need it because it was mostly flat for hiking, but I just wanted to test it out. Yes, it vibrates like crazy. I was getting a couple of questions about that. The poles definitely vibrate because they're carbon fiber, but it's not really a huge issue for me. And then the other thing that I had, which came in clutch on the first day, which is the Gossamer Gear umbrella, sun umbrella. And there was a lot of cat's claw that was out there. It was basically this like prickly bush that is common in Joshua Tree. So I had to keep, you know, especially when we were going through some, you know, low branch areas, I had to keep trying to like finagle it to get it to work, but worked out great on the first day. Okay, the other thing that I'm gonna talk about real quick is gonna be my stove kit, because I also don't have that here with me. I decided to bring two different styles. I was going to try out my new X-Boil alcohol stove system, but I asked around the rangers at the park because I couldn't really find definitive answers online, and they kind of frowned against using the alcohol stove, so I switched over to the gas canister stove. So just a 100-gram gas canister. I ended up using the Soto Windmaster with my Toast Titanium pot, and I also ended up bringing my Sea to Summit Delta cup, which is an insulated cup, just so that Edgar could have something to drink out of while I drank out of the toques. I brought some hot lips for the pot, and then I also had just a backup lighter in case my piezo kind of went out of commission. All right, let's bring the bag back up to show you kind of the other stuff that was in and around the pack. So for navigation, I ended up using the Garmin InReach Mini. This is the first one, not the second model, in conjunction with my Garmin watch, the Instinct watch. It's not the solar, just the regular version, and that worked out insanely well. We forgot to pack the map that we ended up getting, but that worked fine for navigation. I have a couple of the Gossamer Gear pockets here. We got the bottle rocket pocket, and then we've got I had my cell phone here in the back sleeve of this one. Just had some hand sanitizer for obvious reasons. Had some tissues. And then I forgot that I had an extra one in here, but a couple of sunscreen lip balms. That definitely came in handy. What else we have over here? I got my REI pack towel for just wiping my sweat. And then the thermo drop just for figuring out what the ambient temperature was in and around camp. I have the Outdoor Vitals 1/8" foam pad here as my back panel, because even though there's a frame in this pack, it doesn't really create any kind of airflow, so that definitely helped with cushioning the blow a little bit. Let's get into the side pockets real quick. On the one side, I basically just stashed my snacks, so I think that's pretty much all I had in here. Yeah, just some drink stuff and electrolytes. I just have some Stir liquid, and then some of the Noon tablets, extra Noon tablets. And on the other side here, I've got, I brought my Sun Blessa headlamp. I think this is like the H11. I forget the exact model on that, but that is continuing to impress me. I really like that small headlamp. And then another thing that wasn't really needed was a bug head net, but I always bring that just in case. And I think that's pretty much it. I got one other thing that's in here. This is more related to the camera gear. Ended up bringing a beefier tripod on this trip. Worked out well. It was definitely a little bit heavier. I'm not sure how many times I'm gonna bring this on trips in the future, but definitely worked for some of those longer shots, like selfie shots and walk-by shots, things like that. I think that's pretty much it. That's all I've got. I am now going to focus on what the differences were. So, and you've already seen this in the video, but one of the big differences here was the sun exposure. So having the Gossamer Gear to use as a lance when I was on my horse. No, having the Gossamer Gear umbrella definitely helped out. It was the first time I was using it on trail. I loved it. We only got up to, I think, low to mid 60s during the day. So really perfect weather for this time of year. But I stayed so much cooler underneath this thing, and I can't wait to take it on the TCT redemption that I'm hoping to do this year. Don't tell anybody. I didn't want to say it yet, but I hope to get back out on the TCT and complete the whole thing in one shot this year. So that was one major difference. The next thing was the bear can that you just saw. That was my first time ever taking a bear can out. Worked fine. It's big and bulky and kind of looks weird and fits weird in your pack. And I also brought a chair along with the bear can, so I was definitely bringing a lot more conveniences and luxuries on this one. I could have just used the bear can to sit on, but that worked fine. There was no problems with that. The food that both, I used that for both of us for one night. And again, I was packing for 3 days, so that's the smaller bear can. That's the Jaunt. I think they have an even smaller one now, but so that was a little bit difficult to like cram everything in there for even just the one night, but we made it work. And then the last big thing is, how do you get water when you're in the desert? So, and then one thing that I didn't show you was the water that I brought. So I ended up just buying, I decided to buy a bunch of different water bottles to bring with us. And that's what I also recommended to Edgar, mostly because there's a couple different ways that you can go about it, right? You can have a water reservoir with the tube system, and then you can also have something like the new water cell from Sea to Summit, which makes, carrying larger amounts of water a little bit easier. However, I was just kind of a little bit more paranoid that, what happens if you spring a leak in that, and that's your lifeline, that's all your water kind of gone. So I decided to end up going with the more wasteful method of getting a bunch of different size water bottles. So I had in my pack a couple of different 1.5 liter sized bottles. And then I had a 1 liter on the side, and then I had my traditional like 20 ouncer in my water bottle pocket riding on my shoulder. And that worked really well. So if you're doing the math on that, it was a little bit over 4 liters for a day. And then the other unique thing that we had to do was water cache, which is basically just stashing your water someplace, hiding your water someplace so that you can camel up on the second day. So we did that for the second day. And I ended up packing a little bit more than I ended up consuming. They recommend you bring somewhere around a gallon a day, which is roughly 4 liters. And that rang pretty true. I got pretty low after the first day, and I brought a little bit over 4 liters, but we did end up going 10 miles the first day, and then a little bit under that for the second day. But the cache had a lot more water that we ended up just not grabbing everything from the cache, and then had to go back to it again on our way out to just grab what was left of it. And then also the wind shirt from Zpacks. Grab that again for you. This little trash bag looking thing here. Testing this out for different insulation and trying to keep warm when either active or at camp. So more on that in the future as well. So the total base weight, looking at my lighter pack here, and I may post a link in the description for this, but I may not, I'm not sure, because I make different ones and I kind of delete them all the time. But my base weight was right around 16 pounds. It was like a shade over 16 pounds for this one. So definitely heavier than I normally am, and heavier than what I'm usually comfortable with. But I thought that it was pretty much necessary, and I used just about every single piece of gear that I ended up packing for this trip. But again, if you add on the water and the food weight, I think I was riding closer to that 30-pound mark. So definitely a heavier trip and a heavier carry, just because you have to carry your water. But overall, love the trip. If you're not subscribed to the channel, definitely consider subscribing, because the next video coming out is going to be that trip video series. I'm not sure, it's probably going to be at least a couple videos. But had a great time, had a blast when I was out there, and I would definitely go back again. So, and I would definitely recommend it to other folks and anybody else who's thinking about hitting up that national park. But yeah, subscribe to the channel if you aren't already subscribed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below about this whole gear loadout. Did I miss anything? Should I have considered bringing other things for desert style camping? If you have experience in desert style camping, let me know. I want to hear all about it down below. But I think that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Remember, if you're headed off grid, make sure you do your research and you make it a safe one. I'll see you guys on the next one. Really, guys, with the leaf blowers going right now? Bad timing.